This month, our focus, as you can see, is spiritual mind treatment. Last month, we were looking at the form. This month, we're looking at the feeling. And if you're visiting, or if you're just tuning in or watching for the first time and you're wondering, well, what is spiritual mind treatment? Well, it's a type of affirmative meditation that has a lot in common with prayer, but also has a lot of significant differences. So if you are a visitor and you want to get on the same page with this ongoing discussion, the good news is you can do that by visiting our website, where there's a whole lot of free content of all of our previous week messages, www.cslsr.org. Because each week we'll be adding to the conversation from the previous week's message. So if you'd like the backstory to those conversations about what exactly is spiritual mind treatment and what it is not, then you know where to go. It's particularly important that we go on because last week we ended with a cliffhanger. Again. Yeah. With the controversial statement that went like this: the words thank you are not necessarily necessary in spiritual mind treatment. You see, there was in the context of good manners or something that in a social setting is very appreciated, but good manners don't necessarily influence the divine. And I said that I would explain exactly what I meant by that because it deserves a full explanation. So let's get right into it by starting with something our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, wrote in this week's assigned reading from the book Living the Science of Mind. And I know you know exactly what page it is on because you're reading along with me. Page 312, he says that a spiritual mind treatment, this form of affirmative meditation, which is like prayer, that spiritual mind treatment has no power unless it has meaning to the one who gives it. Very important because he's advocating for the mindful use of words. He's making a case for how the words that we use in our spiritual mind treatment ought to be filled with the warmth and feeling of our conviction. Now, what is the feeling that we are talking about? Well, to me, it's a feeling of anticipation. The feeling of excitement, the feeling of expectancy when something good is coming and you know it. My godson, when he was about 6 or 7 years old, I used to go visit him frequently in his home in London, and he used to get so excited about my visits that he would make himself sick with anticipation. Yeah, you know, his parents said to me, please don't tell him when you're coming. You know, because he knew something good was coming. He knew he was going to get all kinds of attention from me that he didn't get in his house full of sisters. Oh, he knew he was going to get presents. Oh, he felt it before I even arrived. He could feel it. He celebrated it before I even showed up. He anticipated the delivery of presents. He rejoiced in the ideas before they even showed up. And do you know that I felt that too? You know, I would have given him the gift and the attention and all of the things, not because he was grateful, but because I love him. You know, and I said to him what my grandmother said to me. There is nothing that you can do that will ever make me stop loving you. You know, and then he went through that phase, you know, where all adults are annoying. And still I loved him. Yeah. And then he went through that phase where, you know, he was embarrassed to be associated with me or any other adults. You know that phase? And still I loved him. And then he went through the secretive phase, all attention on girls phase. And still I loved him. Can you feel that? Oh, that's the feeling in spiritual mind treatment. That's why you don't necessarily need the words, thank you. Oh, but you must feel it before you even start. Before you even get into it. And it's called an attitude of gratitude. And that, my friends, is what makes everything work. So the words thank you, well, they're just the tip of an iceberg, This is about so much more than good manners. Don't believe me? Well, then let's turn to the great example given by the great teacher, Jesus of Nazareth, who said to us, pray this way. Now, I want you to imagine my godson, hands wide open, anticipating the delivery of the goods. Okay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we also have forgiven our trespassers. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Now, look at it carefully. Where is thank you? Well, it's not there in the words. No, it is assumed that it is already in the heart of the one praying. It assumes a good, strong, intimate, solid, loving relationship. If you don't have a relationship with somebody, then, things are going to be a little more formal. I have a friend whose daughter is starting to date. And so the family is meeting the boyfriend for the first time. He's on best behavior. It's all please and thank you all the way. It should be. And I noticed that the rest of us who already have a relationship with the family, well, we're a little bit more at ease. We just make ourselves at home. We know very well that if we want a cup of coffee, we can just go make it. And the other kids who live in the house, they know if they're hungry, they can go get food. Of course they'll say please and thank you. There's no disrespect meant when they just go and get it. No, it's not disrespect. It's not rude. It's intimate. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. But not for the new guy. He doesn't have that yet. He's not in the house yet. No. You got to have a relationship with the divine to have the kind of confident, friendly expectation of good that Jesus had. And Jesus clarified it even further in John 11:42. Now, this is the scene where he was called to the tomb of Lazarus, who was dead for 3 days, right? And then Jesus lifted his eyes upward and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. Now, look at this. I knew that you always hear me. But I say this for the benefit of the people standing here. Oh my gosh. Do you see that? He knew he didn't have to be polite with a power that intimate. He had to be real. Do you see that Jesus knew something and he called that something Father? And we call it divine mind. I mean, you can call it God or whatever it is you want to call it. And we can know with Jesus that it, whatever you call it, is permanent and eternal and everywhere present and all-knowing and listening, so to speak. Like, imagine with me, if you will, like it's waiting for you to say something that it can respond to by flowing through. Oh, he was certain about his relationship to the power that he called Father, and he wanted us to be so also. That's why he said, pray this way. And then what about that prayer that Chris sang this morning? Let's see. Why don't you read this with me if you can read the tiny little words on the screen? Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, let me sow pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in forgiving that we are forgiven. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Now look over very carefully. Where is thank you? Again, it's not there in the words. It's assumed that it is in the heart of the one praying already. Now, I know that this prayer may or may not have been written by St. Francis of Assisi, but it always gets me to thinking about him. And did you know that St. Francis was known for his attitude of gratitude. That's what he was known for. I mean, he was constantly praising creation. He was high on life. He was filled with rejoicing for what God was producing through creation, so much so that there was no need for him to say the words thank you because he felt it all the time. His whole life was one giant supersized thank you. And he wasn't in denial about the world and its woes. It's not like he didn't know what was going on in the world. I mean, he fed the hungry. He helped the animals who were his friends. He tended the sick, the ones other people wouldn't touch. He advocated for peace in a time of war by visiting world leaders. Oh, he knew what was going on in the world. And all the while he was tending to the world, he was celebrating every little thing. Even death. Even weather. Even suffering. Another well-known prayer of his is the Canticle of Brother Son. It goes like this. All praise be yours, my Lord, through all that you have made. And first, my Lord, brother, son, who brings the day and the light you give us through him. How beautiful he is, how radiant is his entire splendor. Of you, Most High, he bears the likeness. All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister moon and stars. In the heavens you have made them bright and precious and fair. All praise be yours, my Lord, through brother wind and air, and fair and stormy, and all the weather's moods by which you cherish all that you have made. All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister water, so useful, lowly, precious, pure. All praise be yours, my Lord, through brother fire, through whom you brighten up the night. How beautiful is he, how happy, full of power and strength. All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister earth, our mother, who feeds us in her sovereignty and produces numbers of fruits with colored flowers and herbs. All praise be yours, my Lord, through those who grant pardon for love of you, through those who endure and suffer. By you, Most High, they will be crowned. All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister death, from whose embrace no one can escape. See, the point is that you and I must get into the right feeling so that the right feeling can get into our spiritual mind treatment. We don't do the treatment to get to gratitude. We do gratitude to get it into the treatment. And gratitude and rejoicing, they are mighty, powerful feelings to get into. And you can practice an attitude of gratitude. Yes, you can. How? Well, we used to say, look for the good and praise it. There's something to that. It's a habit well worth forming. That's how you practice. You look for the good and you praise it. You look for the good and you appreciate it. You look for the good and you respect it. You look for the good and you comment on it. You look for the good and you rejoice in it. You look for the good and you value it. You look for the good and you write about it. You look for the good and you think about it. You look for the good and you celebrate it, and very soon you will be anticipating it. Oh, it will help you get into the right feeling for your spiritual mind treatment. And then when you are doing your spiritual mind treatment, you won't feel the need to have good manners. Because all of that gratitude will be alive in you. You will be high like St. Francis. You'll be going into your spiritual mind treatment with rejoicing on your mind in the presence of whatever is going on. I just want to go back to that first prayer for a moment, because there's something we ought to pay attention to very carefully. It's very important. This is what it is. You'll notice, I invite you to pay attention to that the words of the prayer are expressed not as a request, but as a command. That's the command form. Give us this day everything we need. Like pass the salt. No disrespect intended. It's that intimate. Lead us not into distraction and bad choices. Very much in the way of let me through. Like the next prayer too, make me an instrument. See, in other words, what we are dealing here with is affirmations. These are examples of affirmations. Powerful, present tense, personal statements about the spiritual truth. And if you want to know more about that, you got to go back to last month's videos and audios and listen to them, because there's a lot to say about that. So here's what we've been talking about. Spiritual mind treatment is different from conventional prayer, although it shares some things in common. But you really can't smush the two methods together. And yes, there is a step-by-step process that anyone can learn how to do it. But we've been talking this week. Don't get hung up on the form. Get into the feeling. It's better to have the right consciousness than the wrong form. Now, the steps in spiritual mind treatment, they represent a logical progression of consciousness. So they're worth studying. That's why we offer the Beyond Limits course, because that's a course all about the logical progression of thought in spiritual mind treatment. It's fabulous. And spiritual mind treatment is not something to take lightly. It's not something you rush through. Oh no, our founder said, and this is what we've been looking at, take time, at least twice a day, to sit still and to let go, to compose yourself, to release tension as much as possible. And then begin to think about divinity. Well, some people might say, well, what do you mean, think about divinity? Well, I'll tell you how I do it. I ask myself questions and then I answer it in my own mind. Edward, what is the divine to you? Well, glad you asked. Edward, how would you describe God if you were writing an article in a local magazine? Well, this is what I would say. Make it easy and make it meaningful. And then you go on to think about your relationship to this divinity. And then you make your affirmations and denials. Again, you've got to watch the video. And then you rejoice. And then you trust. And now I must introduce the question. What exactly are you treating or praying about? In other words, what is your desired outcome, or what is the purpose of your spiritual mind treatment? How exactly does that fit into the words that you use for your particular spiritual mind treatment? Well, we'll have to deal with that when I see you next. And now, time to pray. I invite you to breathe in. Exhale, letting your eyes close. There is only one power, the living Spirit Almighty, the Creator, in and through all things, above and below, inside and out, the eternal, all-knowing, ever-present power. I exist within this power. I am its creation, as we all are. And through this shared unity, I feel rising up with me a rejoicing, an intimacy, a closeness. And so respectfully and from the love in my heart, I announce, give us this day everything we shall need to thrive. Lead us not into distraction. Deliver us from our own selves. Forgive through us. And having said as much, my heart is open wide with a sense of joyful anticipation and acceptance. And so I release this word of prayer into that aspect of the divine we call the law, the spiritual law that governs the universe, that responds to us, that one, so that I may move about with trust and freedom. And together we say, and so it is. I invite you now to breathe in and to sigh.